Part 1. The horse's hooves struck the peat road with a dull, sodden rhythm, each impact swallowed immediately by the wet earth. Mal McCraith rode in silence, the animal's dark manner streaming in the wind, blending with the swirling fog that rolled like the breath of some ancient beast slumbering beneath the highlands. Scotland of 1889 was changing, coal, steam, iron rails cutting open the land, but the highlands remained the same hungry wilderness it had always been. Whatever roamed here before man still roamed now, hidden in mist, old as the mountains that guarded the sky. Mal pulled the collar of his long oilskin coat tighter against the drizzle. The air smelled of smoke, peat, and sulfur, the usual perfume of Muirfoot. A miserable smell. A familiar one. He had been away too long. The fog parted just enough for him to see the grey smear of the town ahead, 40 souls, if the census could be trusted. Maybe fewer now. Muirfoot's peat bogs stretched endless on both sides, like great dark lakes of mud waiting to swallow the careless. Beyond them, Loch Morrigan lay silent and black, reflecting no stars tonight because the clouds refused to part. The wind carried the thin, wavering moan of a distant bagpipe, not played by any living hands. It never was. Mal ignored it. The highlands played tricks. Or maybe it was the world that was wrong. As he reached the main road, the mud grew thicker, sucking at the horse's hooves. He guided the animal slowly between the leaning houses of Muirfoot, wood-warped by weather, stone-cracked by frost, roofs patched with moss and desperation. Pale lamp glow seeped from only a few windows. The rest were dark, bolted, abandoned, or worse. Mal dismounted in front of the peat and thistle, the only inn still lit. Its sign swung loosely, squeaking on rusty chains, the thistle painted on it peeling away like dead skin. Warm light spilled from the windows, and the low rumble of voices leaked out, muted, suspicious. Strangers were rare. Strangers with weapons were unwelcome. Strangers with purpose were feared. Mal tied his horse to the post, patted its neck once, then climbed the steps. When he opened the door, every conversation inside paused mid-syllable. 30 pairs of eyes followed him. He stepped inside, boots dripping peat water, and the door shut behind him with a click that sounded louder than it should have. The inn smelled of wet wool, sour ale, boiled mutton, and bodies that didn't care about soap. The air was thick with heat but cold with dread. At the far corner, hunched over 2 barrels he used as chairs, sat Black Jock McBain, a man of terrifying proportions. 6.5 feet tall, shoulders like barrels of his own, beard tangled like seaweed dragged through a shipwreck. A red stag hunter, and, by reputation, a drunkard who'd never met a fight he didn't like. Jock let out a low rumble that could have been a laugh or a warning. "Look what the wind dragged in," he said. His voice was gravel scraped over metal. The wandering bog warden himself. Mal said nothing. He walked to the bar, nodding once to the barkeep, a narrow-faced woman named Elsie. She poured him something brown, smoky, and strong enough to clean gunmetal. Jock stood up with the heavy grunt of a bear waking from hibernation. The floorboards protested. His steps thudded like approaching thunder. He reached Mal's side and loomed taller. "A fancy gun ye got there," Jock said, eyeing the silver-inlaid revolver holstered on Mal's hip. Gaelic script glimmered faintly along the barrel, ancient words carved with ritual precision, not for vanity, but for warding. Jock tapped the barrel with a finger thick as a sausage. "Silver bullets too. You shoot in fairies these days? Or ghosts?" Mal lifted his glass and drank. "Sometimes both." The inn erupted with laughter, nervous laughter, the kind that tried too hard. People watched the 2 men closely, eyes darting between them. Nobody wanted trouble. But trouble often wanted them. Jock leaned closer, breath stinking of sheep fat stew and rock gut. "Funny thing, though. Folks say silver guns are for witches. And we don't have witches here. Not anymore." Mal didn't flinch. "You sure about that?" Jock's grin widened, teeth yellow as old parchment. I'm sure. The only witch in here is the man who carries a book o' curses and calls it scripture." A few of the patrons chuckled. Others looked away, sensing the change in the air. Mal set his glass down quietly. "You want something, Jock?" A demonstration, Jock replied, spreading his arms wide as if inviting a hug. Go on. Show us the fire of the bog warden. Or have you lost your nerve out there in the mists? Leave it, Elsie muttered from behind the bar. Don't provoke him, Jock. I'm not provoking, Jock said. I'm just welcoming an old friend home. He slammed his fist on the table, rattling glasses. Come on, Mal. Draw that pretty gun, Anne. A flash. A thunder crack. A hole opened in the world. And suddenly Jock McBain wasn't standing anymore. He was lying flat on the floorboards, eyes rolled upward, body slack, a neat, perfect round hole drilled clean between his eyebrows. Smoke curled from the wound like a whispered prayer. Blood, dark, rich, almost black, spread slowly across the cracked wood. The inn froze. Not a breath exhaled. Mal lowered the smoking revolver. The inscription on the bullet's shell had caught the candlelight when he fired, Exodus 22 verse 18. Thou shalt not suffer a witch to live. The spent casing dropped from the chamber with a soft metallic ring. No one screamed. No one moved. Because the patrons all knew one thing. Jock McBain had not died from a human quarrel. He had been claimed. Mal stared down at the corpse, jaw tight, eyes shadowed. He holstered the weapon with deliberate calm. He said softly, to no one in particular. Welcome home. Outside, the fog pressed against the windows. The wind rose, carrying the bagpipe's lonely wail again, but this time, it wasn't alone. Faint giggles, too high, too soft, too wrong, threaded through the music. Someone whispered a prayer. Someone else began to weep. And in the sudden silence, the peat beneath the inn floorboards gave a wet, sucking sound, like something shifting deep down in the earth, awakening. The silence after Jock's death lasted far too long. A stretched moment, thin as old parchment, ready to tear at the slightest breath. Mal waited for someone, anyone, to speak, to accuse, to cry out. But the people of Muirfoot were wiser than that. They'd seen enough to know when a man's death wasn't murder, but a message. Elsie was the first to move. She wiped her hands on her apron, then strode forward with surprising steadiness. She knelt by Jock's body, checking for a pulse she knew wasn't there. The hole between his brows was smoking faintly, the faint scent of burned hair and peat drifting upward. God preserve us, she whispered. What took him? Mal didn't answer. Not directly. Not what, he said quietly. Who? Elsie's eyes flickered upward, searching his face. But Mal was already stepping back, giving the barkeep room. Two men rose to help, thin, pale Highlanders with eyes reddened by peat dust. Together, they lifted Jock's enormous frame, grunting and muttering prayers under their breath. His arms swung limp like a puppet whose strings had been cut. The inn breathed again. Mal moved toward the bar. Elsie followed him with her gaze, her jaw tight, her fear masked by years of stubborn Highland grit. You didn't have to kill him, she said. He was already dead, Mal replied. He just didn't know it yet. Before Elsie could argue, the inn's door creaked open, and a blast of cold mist spilled in. A tall man entered, wrapped in a black clerical coat. His hair was a shock of silver, his beard neatly trimmed but wild around the edges. A crucifix hung from his neck, iron darkened by years of peat-stained weather. His eyes, however, were sharp and bright as a raven's. Father Niall MacTaggart. The only Catholic priest in a Presbyterian territory. Some called him a stubborn relic. Others called him mad. Mal called him the only man in Muirfoot with both faith and sense. He scanned the room, his gaze falling immediately upon the dark stain where Jock had collapsed. His nostrils flared. So it's begun, he murmured. Elsie looked ready to faint. Father, don't say such things. It's not a matter of saying, Niall replied, crossing himself. It's a matter of knowing. Mal nodded. You felt it too. Niall said. When the fog thickened. When the wind changed direction. His eyes flicked to the window, where the mist pressed like a living curtain. When the old songs began again. A tremor ran down Elsie's arms. The bagpipes? That's just the wind. The priest's eyes narrowed. Not unless the wind learned to play the lament for the damned. Mal finished his drink, setting the glass down with a dull clack. We need to talk, he said to Niall. The priest agreed. Not here. They stepped outside together, letting the inn's warmth vanish behind them. The fog rolled in, thick as wool, swallowing everything beyond a few feet. Street lamps were faint blurs, halos of flickering gold drowning in the murk. The smell of peat deepened, wet, rotten, ancient. No sound came from the town now. Even the wind was still. Tell me everything, Mal said. Father Niall crossed his arms against the cold, his coat whipping slightly in a southern breeze. The Drummond lad has been digging deeper than is wise. Jasper? Mal asked. He's still here. Niall said grimly. Out in the bog for days on end. Hunting for what he calls new wealth. Or new sins. That too, the priest muttered. Mal tilted his head, listening. There, beneath the fog, something whispered. Not words. Just a suggestion of movement. Something slithering. Something ancient. The sound vanished as quickly as it came. Niall noticed the shift in Mal's posture. You hear it too. Mal didn't deny it. What's Jasper found? He asked. Not what, Niall said. Who? They walked together down the muddy road, boots sinking deep. The fog closed behind them like a door. Lantern posts faded. The town became a shapeless ghost. Jasper broke the peat layer, Niall explained. Went deeper than any man since the last of the Jacobite dead fled into the bogs. Mal stopped walking. He turned slowly. Tell me you're not suggesting. I am, the priest said. Morag. A chill crawled up Mal's spine. Morag was a story, he said. A nightmare to frighten children. No, Niall said. Moragmore was real. As real as the headless mists over Culloden Field. As real as the screaming winds. As real as your silver bullets. Mal's jaw tightened. Stories say she died. Long ago. They didn't bury her. The priest's voice dropped to a whisper. They hid her. The peat sucked at their boots, wetter now. They could hear distant dripping, bog water falling from invisible heights. And the child? Mal asked. Silence. Father Niall's face paled in the dim light. He whispered. The bairn too. Mal exhaled slowly. Damn it. Damnation is exactly the trouble, Niall muttered. They reached the old church, a skeletal ruin perched on a low ridge above the bog. Half its roof had caved in. Stones blackened by centuries of smoke and rain leaned precariously. The bell tower was missing its bell, only a rusted chain swung where it once hung. The church seemed to breathe with the fog, exhaling cold into the night. Niall led Mal inside. The air changed instantly, colder, heavier, as if the church had swallowed the warmth of the world. Shadows clung to the walls. Mal's boots echoed faintly on ancient stone. A few candles flickered near the altar, their light barely strong enough to touch the darkness. Niall opened a trapdoor behind the altar and descended a narrow stair. Mal followed, revolver in hand. Below lay a crypt. It smelled of wet soil and old death. Bones were stacked neatly along alcoves, ancestors, forgotten priests, Jacobite stragglers, unnamed children wrapped in peat cloth. Niall approached a wooden table. Upon it lay a stretched piece of leathery skin, brittle around the edges, tattooed with looping Gaelic runes. A map, Mal said slowly. A curse, Niall corrected. Mal leaned closer. The markings were unmistakably carved on human skin, pale, waxy, preserved unnaturally well. The runes shimmered slightly as if reacting to breath. Her skin? Mal asked. Moragmore, Niall confirmed. Taken from her after they cut her head clean off. They peeled it to keep her spirit from finding her bones. But her bones, his gaze drifted upward, toward the bogs beyond the church walls. Her bones were thrown into the peat. Along with the bairn she carried. Mal traced a finger close, never touching the runes. A tingling sensation hovered. His breath became visible, even though no frost should be here. "And you think Jasper broke the seal?" he said. "I know he did." Niall pointed to an emblem at the map center, a spiral rune surrounded by slashes. Some of the lines glowed faintly. This one was dormant until 2 nights ago. Then it flared. When the fog grew thicker, Mal murmured. When the bagpipes began, Niall added. Mal clenched his jaw. And when sheep started dying. 13, Niall said. Hearts eaten. Bodies untouched. And the miners. Missing. He paused. But I found something near the bog's edge. He held up a glass jar. Inside floated a small, circular wound like a perfect leech bite, but wrong. More like a mouth. A tiny ring of teeth around a dark center. Mal stared. God's mercy. There's no mercy here, Mal. A distant sound slithered through the crypt. Not wind. Not water. A voice. A woman's whisper, soft but impossibly clear. Thamirais. I am returned. The candles guttered violently, almost extinguished. Niall grabbed Mal's arm. We need to move. The fog's shifting. She knows you're here. Mal steadied himself. Let her come. Niall shook his head. Not here. Not beneath consecrated ground. She'll twist it. Mal holstered his revolver. Then we draw her out. To where? Mal's eyes hardened. Anywhere but here. The fog pressed against the crypt door, swelling inward like a tide. The whisper came again, this time accompanied by a faint click-click-click, like fingernails tapping on stone. Niall crossed himself swiftly. Lord preserve us. Too late for that, Mal muttered. They climbed the stairs with grim urgency. The fog poured in behind them like smoke from a burning world. Outside, the bagpipe's unnatural lament rose again, and beneath it, a thin, lilting giggle. Children's laughter. But not human. Not anymore. Mal stepped into the mist, revolver drawn, silver gleaming faintly. The night breathed. And something in the bogs breathed back. The fog swallowed them the moment they stepped beyond the church's shadow. It thickened until the world shrank to the width of an arm's reach. Mal could barely see Father Niall's silhouette beside him, just a shifting dark blur. Each breath tasted of wet moss and rot. Moisture clung to Mal's eyelashes, forming droplets that slid down his cheeks like cold tears. Somewhere beyond the murk, something splashed in the bog, followed by a dragging sound. Slow. Wet. Heavy. Niall whispered, stay close. Mal didn't answer. Instead, he listened. The Highlands had their own language, and Mal knew how to read it. This wasn't mere fog. This was presence. The air itself trembled, as if holding in a scream. A soft hum began, high, wavering, almost a song. Then the unmistakable drone of bagpipes joined it, drawn out and mournful. Mal stopped dead in his tracks, eyes narrowing. The sound wasn't coming from any one direction. It was everywhere. Around them. Beneath them. Inside them. Not living hands, Niall murmured. No, Mal agreed. Not for a century. The hum shifted, rising in pitch until the fog vibrated. Mal felt it in his bones, vibrating teeth and skull. He pressed a hand to the silver cross hanging inside his coat. It stung. The metal heated, as if pushed to its limit by something unseen. Then, a deeper voice joined the hum. A woman's voice. Wordless. Hollow. Echoing. Mal's grip tightened on his revolver. Morag, he muttered. The fog parted in a sudden swirl. A figure materialized directly ahead, looming, tall, motionless. Mal aimed instantly. Hold. Niall hissed. Look closer. Mal squinted. The shape resolved into a wooden scarecrow, arms outstretched, draped in tattered wool. A sheep's skull hung where its face should be. It swayed gently in the mist, its jaw loosely hinged. The wind rattled its teeth. Mal exhaled and lowered his aim. "New since I last passed through," he said. Niall murmured. "Jasper's handiwork. To keep the bog spirits away," he said. Mal snorted. "Seems it didn't work." A sudden crack echoed, a snapping branch. A bone breaking. The fog shifted again and the scarecrow moved, not swayed, not rocked. It straightened. The sheep skull turned toward them. "Father," Niall gasped, stepping back. Mal raised the revolver once more. "Show yourself," Mal commanded. The scarecrow's jaw clacked open. A slow, hollow moan seeped out, not from wood, not from wind. Something behind the skull breathed through it. The figure jerked with unnatural stiffness. One arm tore free from its post with a ripping sound. Black tendrils of peat water dripped from its sleeve. Then it lunged. Mal fired. Silver flashed. The skull exploded in a burst of bone fragments. The scarecrow's body staggered but didn't fall. Instead, it writhed, wood cracking, cloth tearing, as something beneath the burlap layer pushed outward, stretching the fabric like a second skin. "Move!" Mal shouted. Niall didn't hesitate. Both men dove aside as the scarecrow body collapsed forward, limbs twisting grotesquely. Mal rolled to his feet, ready to shoot again. But the creature wasn't charging. It was shedding. The scarecrow's wooden frame splintered as something crawled out beneath it, a pale, glistening form. At first Mal thought it might be a malformed deer carcass. Then it unfolded. Long limbs. Too many joints. A torso shaped vaguely human but slick with mud. The head tilted upward, revealing a face, no, half a face, smooth and featureless except for a vertical slit where a mouth should be. A child's mouth. The slit opened, releasing a soft, wet giggle. Mal felt the back of his neck rise with cold prickles. "Not Morag more," he whispered. "Too small." Niall's voice was tight. "Then it's..." The creature's limbs snapped toward them, fast as a whip. Mal fired again, silver bullet sinking into its shoulder. It screamed, an ear-piercing shriek that echoed through the fog, and jerked backward. It scrambled away on too many limbs, vanishing into the bog with a splash and leaving only ripples behind. The fog closed. Silence returned. Mal holstered the revolver, breathing hard. "The Ben," he murmured. "Morag's child." "That was only a glimpse," Niall said, wiping sweat from his forehead. "It's watching. Waiting." "For what?" Mal asked. Niall swallowed. "For its mother. And she's close." The bagpipe lament answered for them, louder now, closer. A slow, rising strain that twisted the ancient melody into something broken and furious. The fog pulsed in rhythm with the song, like a heartbeat. Mal steadied himself. "Where's Jasper?" Niall pointed toward the deeper bogs. "His digging camp. Past the old standing stones." Mal exhaled sharply. "Then we go there." The priest paused. "Mal, are you certain?" "No," Mal admitted. "But if he woke her, he's the first target." Niall nodded slowly. "Then God help us." They walked onward, fog swirling at their feet like restless spirits. The bog thickened, turning the ground into a treacherous swamp. Mud sucked at their boots like living mouths. Mal's horse was long behind them now. No animal sane or otherwise would walk this far into cursed land. Lightning flashed, dull and bluish, without thunder. The fog lit briefly, revealing dark shapes all around them. Standing stones. 20 or 30 of them. Monoliths half buried in peat, carved with ancient Gaelic runes so worn they resembled scars. "These weren't here before," Mal said. "They were," Niall murmured. "You just couldn't see them." The fog shifted again, thinning slightly. Torchlight flickered in the distance, Jasper Drummond's camp. Mal quickened his pace. The smell of whiskey and burning peat grew stronger. Shouting voices cut through the fog. "Help! Help the God, no!" A scream. A splash. Then silence. Mal broke into a run. The fog peeled away like a curtain, revealing the camp, overturned peat carts, tools scattered, lanterns swinging wildly. A torn tent flapped like wings. Something dripped lazily from a rope. A man hung from it, upside down, his throat torn open. Blood soaked the ground beneath him, mixing with peat water. His eyes were gone. Cleanly scooped. Niall gagged and crossed himself. Mal scanned the scene. 3 more bodies lay half-swallowed by the bog. Peat moss bulged beneath their skin, ballooning, pulsing, as if something wriggled inside. Then he heard it. A voice. Soft. Giggling. Childlike. Hungry. A shape crouched atop a fallen peat cart. Small. Pale. Slick. Morag Beag. Its wide eyes glowed faintly in the lantern light, reflecting a child's innocence that had never existed. Mal drew his revolver. Easy. Niall whispered, don't provoke it. Morag Beag cocked its head, mouth slit opening. Mud dribbled out. Then words came in a tiny whisper in Gaelic. Tha mo matha agi rai. My mother is rising. The bog directly behind the creature swelled, bulging upward like a lung inhaling. Peat cracked. Water boiled. A shape pushed upward beneath it, long and immense. Mal raised the revolver. No, Niall breathed. You can't kill what's already cursed. Not yet. Mal ignored him. He fired once. The bullet hit Morag Beag square in the chest. The creature jerked, hissed, and dissolved backward into the bog, leaving only ripples. It sounded like laughter gurgling through mud. The bulging mound stopped swelling. For one heartbeat. Then it burst. Peat and black water exploded into the air. Something enormous rose from beneath, a towering feminine form half buried in mud, hair long and dripping algae, skin pale as drowned flesh. Her torso was human. Beautiful, in a lifeless way. But from the waist downward. Tentacles of peat roots, moss, and ancient tendrils erupted outward. Morag Moore. The mother. Her head tilted toward Mal. Her eyes were hollow sockets filled with swirling fog. Her mouth opened, a perfect circle ringed with jagged peat teeth. The bagpipes screamed. Mal stood his ground. Niall whispered, by the saints. Morag's voice emerged like a drowning woman's gurgle. Warden. The ground quaked. Tentacles whipped toward them. Mal fired until the cylinder emptied. Silver bullets tore through fog and flesh. Morag didn't flinch. She surged. Faster than the fog itself. Run! Mal shouted. And the bog swallowed the world. Part 2. Mal didn't remember hitting the ground. Only the sensation of air being crushed out of him, the world spiraling, the fog swallowing everything. His ears rang, like someone dragging iron nails across slate. Wet, cold mud clung to his coat, sucking him downward. He forced himself up, coughing peat water from his lungs. Shapes swam in the mist, branches, stones, shadows, and somewhere beyond them. Morag Moore's scream. The sound wasn't a cry. It was a pressure. A force. A vibration that tore through marrow and memory. It felt ancient, like something long buried reclaiming its voice. Mal staggered to his feet, gripping the revolver even though the cylinder was empty. Instinct. Habit. Anchor. His mind tried to regain focus. Where was Niall? Niall! Mal shouted. His voice bounced strangely, as if the fog itself didn't want it to carry. A faint groan answered him. Mal turned toward the sound, sprinting across unstable ground. His boots slipped on slick moss. His breath rasped. He found Niall half submerged in peat water, gripping a broken lantern. The priest's face was pale, blood trickling from his forehead in a thin line. You alive? Mal asked. Barely, Niall wheezed. Mal hauled him up. Niall winced, brushing mud from his cassock. She's awake, Mal. You saw what rose. Yes, Mal said. And we need to get somewhere she can't reach. He paused. The bog shivered beneath them. The fog pulsed again, like a heartbeat emanating from a massive unseen core. What is she? Mal asked quietly. Niall hesitated, then answered, a wraith of the drowned. The Highlands have many, but Morag's tale, no one believed the old version. I'm listening. Niall's eyes flickered with fear. Morag Moor wasn't just a spirit, a banshee or common wraith. The old stories say she was bound to this land as payment. A blood price. A guardian turned demon. When her child died, the pact broke. And she became this. Mal gestured to the bog behind them, still bubbling, still alive. Niall nodded. Mal exhaled. Then Jasper really did unleash hell. Where is he? Niall asked suddenly. I didn't see his body among the dead. Mal scanned the empty, fog-obscured camp. Gone, Mal said. Or hiding. A distant splash echoed. Then another. Heavy steps. Slow. Purposeful. The fog ahead of them trembled. A shape began moving steadily toward them, massive, towering. Mal grabbed Niall's arm. Move. They fled across the bog, slipping between ancient standing stones. Lantern light flickered behind them, then snuffed out entirely. Only fog remained. They ran until their lungs burned. At last, the ground shifted, rising slightly. Solid earth. A ridge. The fog thinned enough to reveal a narrow path, stone markers forming a crude walkway to higher land. Niall gasped. The old pilgrim road. Thank God. Mal didn't waste time. Come on. They followed the stone path until the bog receded behind them and the fog thinned to a thick mist. Trees loomed overhead now, twisted pines and gnarled oaks, their branches clawing the sky like skeletal fingers. The forest offered no comfort, but it offered distance. At least from the thing behind them. After several minutes, Niall slowed, leaning against a tree. I need a moment. Mal watched the fog behind them. Nothing moved. For now. Niall breathed heavily. We need to understand what we face. Morag Moor, the pact, the bairn, there's a pattern. A curse, Mal said. Yes, Niall replied. A cycle. One tied to blood spilled unjustly. The land remembers. The bog remembers. Mal's jaw tightened. And the land wants vengeance. Not vengeance, Niall corrected. Balance. Mal turned toward the forest's deeper shadows. Balance is a luxury. What we have is a monster. The priest sighed. Even monsters were something else before. Mal said nothing. Something cracked a branch deeper in the woods. Mal spun, revolver raised. Empty gun or not, his stance remained steady. Niall held the broken lantern like a club. A shadow emerged between the trees, short, limping, wrapped in a torn coat. A man. Human. Filthy. Shaking. Jasper Drummond. His eyes were wide and wild, pupils pinprick small. His face streaked with mud and blood. He stumbled toward them on trembling legs. Mal. Jasper gasped. Father Niall. Thank God, God, she's awake, she swallowed them whole. Mal stepped closer, catching Jasper before he collapsed. Slow down. You're safe for now. No one's safe, Jasper rasped. She took them. Dragged them under. They screamed, Mal. The bog ate them like it was hungry. Mal exchanged a glance with Niall. Jasper clutched Mal's coat with claw-like fingers. I didn't mean to wake her. I didn't know. I was digging for relics, a cairn, old bones, anything to sell. I thought the standing stones were hiding treasure. But the earth, it was breathing, Mal breathing. A faint rumble echoed through the ground beneath them. Not thunder. The bog breathing. Jasper shuddered violently. She wants her child. And she wants retribution. The land is cursed, Mal. everything beneath it. Mal's eyes hardened. You caused this. Jasper shook his head frantically. No. No. The curse was already alive. I just triggered it. I made them hear me. They? Mal asked. Jasper swallowed hard. The dead. The forest grew eerily silent. Niall whispered a prayer under his breath. Mal felt the air shift, cold, electric, like an invisible storm. Voices whispered through the trees, soft, overlapping Gaelic chants, rising and falling like waves. Shapes drifted between trunks. Human-shaped. Featureless. Transparent. Not fog. Not mist. Spirits. Mal lifted his revolver slowly. Instinct again. Even empty, it felt right. The ghosts hovered just beyond reach, drifting like wind-blown cloth. Their forms wavered. Their mouths opened in silent screams. Their eyes flickered with pale blue fire. Niall's voice trembled. Lost souls. The ones bound to Morag. Jasper whimpered. She calls them. They answer. Mal stepped forward, placing himself between the figures and the others. What do you want? The spirits froze. All at once. Every face turned toward him. Then, as one, they spoke, dozens of voices layered atop each other, echoing from hollow throats. The mother rises. The child hungers. Blood calls to blood. Balance must be restored. Their words carried weight, felt more than heard. The spirits drifted closer, still silent now, still watching. Their hands extended, reaching for Mal. Not hostile. Not gentle either. Purposeful. Niall whispered, they want something from you. Mal didn't flinch. What? The spirits answered. Warden. The land remembers your oath. Your blood binds the curse. You must finish what was started. Mal stiffened. Jasper stared at him. Warden? What do they mean? Niall slowly turned toward Mal. Your past. Mal's jaw clenched. I'm no warden, he said through gritted teeth. The spirit circled him now, drifting like pale petals on water. Their voices strengthened, shaking leaves from branches. Warden. Keeper. Hunter. Chosen by the old pact. Your blood. Your line. Your vow. Awaken. Mal swallowed something bitter. No. But the forest vibrated with power. His vision blurred at the edges. The fog behind the trees pulsed again, Morag Moore's presence pushing forward. One spirit drifted closer than the rest. Its face morphed, shifting from blankness into features. A man's face. Scarred. Weathered. Familiar. Mal's breath caught. Father, he whispered. The spirit's eyes flared blue. Finish it, Malachi. She is awake. The curse begins again. And what I could not. Mal stepped backward, shaken to his core. Niall stared at him. Mal, what is this? I don't know, Mal lied. The spirit's face dissolved back into pale mist. Mal's father's voice, just an echo now, faded with the rest. The warden must stand. Or the land will fall. The spirits rose upward, drifting into the canopy until they merged with fog and vanished entirely. Jasper collapsed to his knees, sobbing. Niall turned to Mal. What are you? Truly. Mal looked toward the bog where Morag Moore stirred. Toward the curse tied to his bloodline. Toward the past he had tried to bury. I'm the only one who can stop her, he said quietly. But to do that, I need to go back. To where it all began. The bog rumbled. Trees shuddered. Morag's distant howl split the night. And Mal finally understood. He wasn't running from the darkness. He was walking into it. The forest swallowed the echoes of Morag's howl, leaving only the rustle of wet pine needles and the faint hiss of mist slithering between trunks. Mal stood unmoving for several breaths, the cold air burning his lungs as he steadied himself. His father's apparition, whether memory, madness, or ghost, lingered in the recesses of his mind like a stain. Niall approached carefully. "Mal, if you're carrying something we need to know, now is the time." Mal wiped peat mud from his coat sleeve. "Later." There might not be a later. Mal started walking. Jasper looked terrified to be left behind and scrambled after them. "Where are we going?" Mal didn't answer. He followed the slope of the land, listening for the subtle shifts beneath the earth, the bog whispering, exhaling, pulling. He could feel it now, like a thread tugging at his bones. A direction. Not one he wanted, but one he recognized. Niall hurried beside him. "You're following something." "Instinct," Mal said. "Or the curse." "Same difference." Jasper struggled to keep up, stumbling over roots. "If we're walking toward her again, shouldn't we have weapons?" "Fire?" "Something." Mal checked the revolver. Empty. But the carved Gaelic scripture glowed faintly along the barrel, pale as moonlight. "She'll fear this," Mal said. "Enough to hesitate." "And when she stops hesitating?" Niall asked. "Then we improvise." They pushed deeper into the woods until the trees thinned and the land dropped steeply into an ancient ravine. Stone walls rose on either side, moss-covered, fractured by time. At its base lay ruins, barely more than broken pillars and a collapsed archway, half swallowed by roots. Niall's eyes widened. The old warden's chapel. Mal froze. He remembered it now, fragments from childhood. His father bringing him here at dusk, teaching him where to step and where to kneel, how to track footprints through fog, how to listen to the land like it was speaking through the soil itself. "You knew of this place," Niall said softly. Mal didn't respond. Jasper pointed nervously. What is it?" "A sanctuary," Niall murmured. "Or a prison." Mal descended the slope into the ruin. Stones shifted beneath his weight like they recognized him. The air thickened, heavy, humming with unseen energy. Beneath the rubble lay an oblong slab carved with spiral patterns and interwoven runes. He brushed a gloved hand across the markings. Niall whispered, "Gaelic script. Very old. Pre-Christian." Mal nodded. "Warden's oath was older than the church." "You speak of it like it's real," Jasper said. "It was real enough for my father," Mal murmured. "And his father before him." He pressed his palm to the slab. Cold. Too cold. Like winter beneath stone. Images flashed behind his eyelids, men wrapped in furs, standing in circle formation, torches blazing, chanting rising like thunder, a mother's scream, a child's first cry, peat smoke, blood spilled upon sacred ground. Niall stepped forward. "What do you see?" "History," Mal said. "Memory." "Theirs?" Niall asked. Mal's hand trembled. "Ours." Niall inhaled sharply. "Your family, tied to the bog." "Tied to its balance," Mal corrected. "Generations of wardens kept it from waking. Kept the dead quiet. Kept creatures like Morag sealed beneath." "And when did it end?" "When my father died." A gust of cold air swept the clearing. The fog thickened, curling and twisting into shapes like half-formed faces. Whispering. "You left your post," Niall breathed. "No," Mal said bitterly. "The church expelled me. They needed a scapegoat. A man to blame for the famine, the drownings, the disappearances. They decided it was witchcraft. Heresy. Madness." Niall swallowed. "And was it?" Mal didn't answer. The fog seeped through cracks in the stone floor. It slithered around Mal's boots and curled up his legs like fingers reaching. Jasper backed away. "This place is wrong. We shouldn't be here." "That's why we need to be here," Mal said. He knelt before the slab and traced the runes. The lines pulsed faintly, alive. Responding. The land recognized him. The oath recognized him. A low hum vibrated the earth, shaking loose pebbles and fragments of bone. Niall stumbled, gripping a pillar. What's happening? He shouted. Mal clenched his teeth. It's waking. The curse? Niall asked. No. The oath. The runes glowed brighter, cold silver-blue radiance piercing the mist. Jasper shielded his eyes. Mal, stop this. I didn't start it, Mal growled through clenched teeth. I'm just listening. The runes flared. A shockwave burst outward, rippling the fog, flattening grass, shaking trees. Birds erupted from the canopy with frantic cries. Something vast and ancient stirred beneath the chapel. The ground quaked. And a voice, deep, resonant, older than the highlands, thundered through Mal's skull. Warden. Chosen. Bound by blood. Rise. Mal gasped, clutching his head. The world spun. Through vision or memory, he didn't know which, he saw a procession of wardens stretching back centuries, warriors, priests, hunters, women with iron eyes and men carved from stone. He saw their battles against creatures birthed from peat and shadow. He saw his father's last stand, alone in a storm of ghosts. And he saw himself. A child kneeling beside him. A child the oath had marked. A child destined to succeed him. Mal choked on the realization. It chose you, Niall whispered. Long ago. Mal fell to one knee as the ground continued trembling. Fog swirled violently around him, spiraling upward like a column of smoke. Runes flared once more, searing bright, and then burst into a shower of pale embers. The trembling ceased. Silence. Mal exhaled shakily. Sweat dripped down his brow. He rose to his feet, unsteady but changed. The revolver at his hip now glowed visibly. The carvings along its barrel shimmered with renewed power. Niall stared at him. You're glowing. Just the gun, Mal muttered. No, Niall said. You. Mal said nothing. Jasper pointed toward the ravine. Is that supposed to happen? A wind rose suddenly, not from above, but from below. Cold, fetid. It smelled of rotting peat, iron, stagnant water. Morag Moore's presence lurked beneath the land like a sleeping leviathan. Mal gripped his revolver. She's close. Niall raised the lantern. What do we do? Mal turned toward the ravine mouth. We go after her. Jasper yelped. Directly. Mal didn't bother answering. He was already moving. They descended through the broken archway, into a narrow passage carved by time and ancient hands. Stones dripped with condensation. The air vibrated with a low, ceaseless pulse, like a heartbeat echoing from the deep earth. Twisting corridors led them between walls etched with faded spirals and symbols. Some glowed faintly in the lantern light, reacting to Mal as he passed. Niall whispered prayers. Jasper muttered curses. Mal walked steadily, following the beat beneath his feet. One passage widened into a chamber. At its center lay an underground pool, still, dark, mirror-like. Above it, fog gathered into a shape. A woman's face. Pale. Hollow-cheeked. Eyes empty. Lips parted in a whisper. Morag Moore. Her reflection in the water rippled, distorting into a skull. Jasper whimpered. She's looking at us. Niall froze. No. She's looking at him. Mal stepped forward. Morag's voice seeped from the fog, low and melodic, dripping venom. Warden. Little oath breaker. Your blood sings. Your line ends. Come closer. Come home. The pool churned violently. Black water frothed. Something massive shifted beneath the surface. Tentacles, slick, moss-covered, rose slowly, dripping peat and blood. Niall stepped back. This is madness. We cannot fight her in her lair. Mal didn't draw the gun. Instead, he closed his eyes and whispered in Gaelic, ancient words carved in the chapel stone. Words his father taught him. Land of my blood. Bound in stone and shadow. Answer me now. Guide my hand. The runes on the revolver blazed. Morag shrieked, a sound so piercing the stone walls cracked. Tentacles lashed out, but recoiled as if burned by the revolver's glow. Mal opened his eyes. They glowed faintly blue. "Leave," he commanded to Niall and Jasper. "Now." "We're not leaving you," Niall protested. "You don't have a choice," Mal growled. "Morag wants a warden's blood. Not yours." The fog thickened, swirling like a storm. Morag's face turned monstrous, stretched, distorted, dripping wrath. "Chosen one. Your blood ends the cycle. Give it to me." Mal stepped to the water's edge. "Come and take it." The pool exploded. Tentacles whipped toward him. Mal fired. Light, pure, blinding, cut through darkness. The chamber shook. Niall screamed something. Jasper bolted. But Mal stood firm. One warden against the ancient curse. One man against a mother's wrath. The fog swallowed everything. And darkness closed in. Mal's gunshot illuminated the chamber in a violent burst of white-blue light, like frozen lightning. The blast struck Morag's lashing tentacle, searing through rot and moss. The chamber roared, air whipping in a spiraling vortex as the creature recoiled with unnatural speed, shrieking in a pitch that felt like metal tearing inside human ears. Niall stumbled backward, covering his head. Jasper dropped to his knees, hands over ears, sobbing hysterically. Mal stood in the eye of the fury, unmoving, resolute. The revolver pulsed in his hand like a heartbeat. The runes along the barrel glowed brighter, brighter, until they cast long spectral shadows against the stone walls. Morag's face reformed in the fog above the pool, elongated, corpse-pale, dripping black tears. Her voice slithered from every corner of the cavern. "You dare strike the mother?" Mal steadied his breath. "I dare stop you." The fog darkened. The tentacles multiplied, rising, curling, flexing in grotesque patterns. Some ended in claw-like tips, others in fish-like fins edged with bone. All pulsed with wet hunger. Morag's voice grew deeper. "Your father dared too. Look where he sleeps now." Mal flinched. A ripple of memory, his father's last night, the storm, the howl in the darkness, passed through him like a blade. "Enough," he barked. Morag ignored him. "Little warden. Oathbreaker's son. Your blood belongs to the bog." The pool convulsed. One tentacle lashed upward, striking the ceiling. Stone cracked. Debris rained down. Jasper screamed, crawling for safety behind a shattered pillar. Mal stepped forward, leveling the revolver. "You want a fight? Let's make it even. Show yourself." The water stilled. All tentacles froze mid-air. Then, slowly, impossibly, they sank. The fog above the pool twisted inward, spiraling like smoke drawn into a funnel. A shape began forming, coalescing. 2 arms. A torso. A woman's upper body, pale as bleached bone. Her long black hair fell in ropes, dripping with mire. Her eyes were hollow bits of moonlight. Morag Moore's upper form emerged from the pool, floating inches above the surface, as though gravity refused to touch her. Below her waist, the darkness churned, faint shapes, tendrils, limbs, something serpentine, swirled beneath. She almost looked human. Almost. Her voice softened, venom wrapped in velvet. "You have his eyes. His stubbornness. His scent." Mal's spine stiffened. "Don't speak of him." Morag smiled, thin, dead, cruel. "He came to me once. Begged me. Pleaded for the land's mercy." Mal's breath halted. "You lie." He failed. "As you will." Mal fired again. The bullet hit her chest, but instead of shattering her, it passed through her mist-like form. Light exploded out the back. Morag screamed, but it wasn't pain. It was laughter. Mocking. Ringing. Endless. The air thickened until breathing felt like inhaling tar. Mal staggered. His knees buckled. The revolver in his hand dimmed. Niall grabbed his shoulders. "Mal. The chamber's rejecting you. You must stop firing. Mal shook him off. It's the only way to keep her off us. It's weakening you. Niall shouted. Your blood is tied to this place. The oath drains you when you fight alone. Morag's voice slithered around them. Your priest is right. You cannot fight what you are bound to. Let go, little warden. Yield. Mal forced himself upright. Not a chance. Morag's face twisted, her lower half rippling violently, tentacles thrashing beneath the water. She surged closer, her face inches from his. Her breath was cold as frostbite. Then I will take it from you. Her hand, pale, corpse smooth, shot forward. It passed through Mal's chest. Mal convulsed, collapsing to his knees. A guttural cry tore from his throat. His vision splintered into shards of light and shadow. He heard Niall yelling his name. Jasper sobbing. Stone splitting. Water boiling. Morag's hand closed around something intangible, something inside him. Mal felt his heartbeat slow. His breath thin. His bones tremble. His blood chill. She was draining him. Feeding on him. Claiming him. He gripped her wrist, or tried to. His fingers slid through her form like through smoke. Darkness crowded the corners of his vision. Then, a glow. Not from his gun. From beneath the water. A smaller figure appeared. At first, only an outline, soft, wavering, barely visible. Then it took shape. A child. Pale. Thin. Hair matted with moss. Eyes the color of dying embers. Morag Beag. The child thing rose from the pool behind its mother. Its voice was a faint echo, the whisper of reeds moving in wind. Ma. Let him breathe. Morag froze. The cavern fell silent. Her hand stopped digging into Mal's chest. She turned, slow and serpentine, her expression shifting from fury to something cracked, anguish, rage, hunger tangled in one. You live. Morag whispered to the child. You live. Morag Beak nodded gently, its eyes never leaving Mal. I live because he cut the cord. Because he freed me. Ma. Stop. He is not the one. Mal gasped for air, a painful, shuddering inhale that burned like fire. His heart hammered wildly as life surged back into him. He collapsed onto one hand, coughing. Niall dragged him away from Morag's reach. Mal. Mal, can you hear me? Why, yes, Mal choked out. Jasper trembled behind a pillar, whispering, please stop, please stop, please stop, over and over. Morag stared at her child, her monstrous upper form trembling, her face contorting through a dozen unreadable emotions. Her voice cracked. You should not speak. Not yet. Not now. Morag Beag emerged fully from the pool. Its lower half was a mass of tangled tendrils, not fully formed. Unstable. Half child, half swarm of roots. It floated to Mal, hovering inches from him. Its little hand, cold as dead water, touched his cheek. You freed me, Warden. I owe you breath. A life for a life. Mal shuddered. I didn't mean to free you. The child smiled, a haunting, too wide smile. Intent is irrelevant. Balance is all. Morag hissed, come to me, child. Now. But Morag Beak shook its head slowly. No. You are broken, Ma. Mother. You want to swallow everything. But the warden is not yours. He is mine. Morag screamed. The chamber split with the sound, stone cracking, water erupting upward. Tentacles lashed in every direction. The walls shook. The floor heaved. Niall dragged Mal behind a fallen column. Jasper curled into a ball, shrieking. The child remained calm. Its eyes glowed brighter. Sleep, Ma. Sleep. Rest. The cycle will turn again. But not through him. Morag thrashed wildly, shrieking like a banshee torn apart. The pool boiled black. Tentacles recoiled. Walls cracked. The entire cavern shook like it would collapse. Then, Morag Moore dissolved. Her form unraveled into mist and sank back into the pool. The water turned still, flat as glass. The fog thinned. Only the child remained. Morag Beak drifted toward Mal once more, its eyes softening. "You are not ready, Warden. But you will be. Mother sleeps now. For a time. I will watch you. I will grow. I will become." Mal managed to whisper, "Become what?" The child leaned close, its voice like a secret slipping through cracks. "Balance." Then it dissolved. Melted into mist. Dripped back into the water like ink. Gone. The cavern fell silent. Mal collapsed against the stone, chest heaving. Sweat dripped from his brow. His hands trembled. Niall knelt beside him, checking his pulse. "You're alive," Niall breathed. "Barely." Jasper crawled out from behind the pillar, face streaked with tears. "She's gone." Mal stared at the water, flat, calm, black. "No," he said. The revolver dimmed. The air grew still. Mal forced himself to his feet. "She sleeps," he said. "And the child grows." Niall swallowed. "And what does that mean?" Mal walked toward the exit, each step heavy. "It means this isn't over," he whispered. "It's only beginning." Behind them, deep below the water, something pulsed. A heartbeat. Steady. Growing. Part 3. The climb back through the tunnels felt longer than the descent, though the passage had not changed. Mal's boots dragged across uneven stone, his ribs aching, his lungs still trembling from where Morag's hand had pierced through him. Every breath stung cold, as if her chill lingered inside the chambers of his heart. Niall walked beside him, muttering prayers, not loud, not performative, but desperate. The kind of prayers a man said only when he wasn't sure if anyone was listening. Jasper followed last. He didn't speak. Didn't whimper. Didn't sob. He was simply empty. The cavern's air, heavy with ancient wetness, gradually gave way to the familiar damp chill of the bog tunnels. The strange hum, the heartbeat from the pool, faded behind them. Mal felt the shift first, the way a blind animal senses a change in wind. "We're out of her reach," he murmured, less to the others and more to himself. Niall exhaled shakily. "For now." Mal didn't correct him. When they reached the final incline, daylight trickled down in a soft, cold beam. Mal shielded his eyes. He had been below for minutes, or hours, he couldn't tell. Down there, time bent strangely, compacting and stretching like something half alive. At the mouth of the cave, cool morning fog greeted them. Fog heavy enough to taste. Fog thick enough to swallow. The bog outside waited, silent. Still. Too still. Jasper's voice cracked. "Why isn't anything moving?" "No birds." Niall answered grimly. "Life knows when something older has stirred." Mal stepped forward into the moss and mud. He didn't need to look back to know both men hesitated before following. The bog was breathing. Every few seconds, the ground gently rose. And fell. Like a lung beneath them. Niall touched the earth, trembling. "This is wrong. The whole land is responding." Mal knelt too. The bog's surface was warm, unnaturally warm, like the feverish skin of a sleeping giant. "It's her," he whispered. "Even asleep, she radiates." Jasper's voice came out thin. "What about the child?" Mal stood and brushed mud from his hands. "That's the part one don't understand." He remembered the child's cold hand on his cheek. The unsettling gentleness. The too wide smile. The glowing ember eyes. Why had it defended him? Why had it stopped its mother? What did it want? His thoughts spiraled until Niall's voice grounded him. Mal looked there. Across the bog, the mist shifted, parting to reveal a clearing. A single tree stood at the center, a twisted yew, too old to belong to this world, its branches bone-thin and leafless. Something dangled from them. Mal squinted. No, not something. Someone. A body, a man's, hung suspended by roots wound around his limbs like ropes. The roots pulsed faintly, feeding on him. Mal's pulse spiked. Go. Now. They ran through shallow water and marsh, boots squelching. As they approached, Mal recognized the man's face, ashen, gaunt, eyes open but unseeing. Cormac. The missing hunter from the village. Jasper gagged. He's dead, God, he's dead. No, Mal touched the man's neck. A pulse. Weak. Shivering. Too slow. He's alive. Niall stared in disbelief. But his, drained. That was the right word. Not bloodless, something deeper had been taken. Essence. Will. Breath. The roots around Cormac pulsed in rhythmic beats. Feeding. Replenishing. Siphoning. Mal unsheathed his knife and severed the first root. A shriek, not from Cormac, but from the bog itself, ripped through the clearing. The ground shook. Mud bubbled. The yew tree quivered violently. Carefully. Niall warned. Mal hesitated only a breath. If we don't free him now, he won't see another sunrise. He sliced another root. The bog roared again. Black water surged around their ankles. The yew tree's limbs twisted and contorted like skeletal fingers trying to reach them. Jasper cried out. Hurry! Mal slashed the final root. Cormac collapsed into their arms, gasping like a man dragged from drowning. His voice was raw, broken. It took me, he whispered. It feeds on sleep. Mal's blood chilled. The mother has roots everywhere. Even hibernating, she hunts. Niall crossed himself. And when she wakes, we won't survive it, Mal finished. He hoisted Cormac's limp weight over his shoulder. The man weighed little more than a child. The bog trembled again. And again. And again. Each tremor stronger than the last. Jasper's panic rose. We need to leave, now. They began moving toward higher ground, Mal steadying Cormac against his back. Each step became heavier, as though the bog tried to pull them down. Mal spoke between breaths. She's reacting. She knows we freed him. And she's hungry, Niall added. Mal glanced back at the cave mouth, now barely visible through the dense fog. Morag slept below. But the land did not. The earth was alive, awake, and furious. By the time they reached firmer soil, Cormac's breathing stabilized enough for words. He clutched Mal's arm with skeletal fingers. Can't go back to the village, he rasped. She watches. Always watching. Through the water. Through the stones. Mal exchanged a look with Niall. He's not making sense, Jasper whispered. No, Mal thought. He was making too much sense. Cormac's eyes widened suddenly, pupils shrinking. She marked me. She tasted me. She knows the warden has returned. Mal froze. Cormac stared into him, past him, with terrible recognition. She wants you. You're the crack in the wall. The key. The chosen knife. His voice dropped to a trembling whisper. She will take you. Jasper backed away. This is insane, Mal, he's delirious. But Mal's stomach twisted. Because some part of him, some old, buried part, knew Cormac spoke truth. Niall knelt beside Cormac, prayer murmured beneath his breath. We must get him warm. Federation safe. Mal nodded. To the old lodge. They carried him onward. The fog thinned. The trees thickened. And finally, the lodge appeared, an ancient timber structure with peaked roof and shuttered windows, a place Mal's father once used for rituals and winter hunts. Mal hadn't set foot here since he was 14. As they approached, the door opened on its own. A slow, painful creak. Jasper paled. Oh God. Not this again. Mal steadied him. It's only the wind. But Mal didn't believe his own words. Inside, the air was stale. Quiet. Dust motes drifted in the slats of weak sunlight. A fire pit lay cold at the center. Shelves of jars lined the walls, charms, herbs, talismans long since forgotten. Cormac shuddered violently as Mal laid him on a straw mattress. His lips turned blue. Niall grabbed blankets. He's freezing from the inside. We need heat, Mal said. Jasper rushed to gather kindling. I'll get the fire going. Mal turned to Niall. How long do you think he has? Niall shook his head. If she took too much, not long. Cormac reached out blindly, fingers grasping at air. Mal took his hand. Cormac's voice dropped to a fearful whisper. They are coming. Who? Mal asked. Cormac swallowed. The drowned ones. The children. The eyes in the water. Mal's pulse quickened. Cormac, where did you see them? Cormac's voice trembled. Everywhere. The wind outside shifted, sudden, sharp. The lodge's shutters rattled violently. Then. Silence. Mal moved to the window and peered through a crack. Shapes stood in the fog. Dozens of them. Still. Unmoving. Watching. Niall, Mal said quietly. You need to see this. Niall joined him. He inhaled sharply, and rising instinctively to the rosary around his neck. Figures, thin, pale, distorted, stood half submerged in the swamped water outside the lodge. Their eyes glowed faintly in the mist. Black water dripped from their hair. Their limbs hung at impossible angles. Children. Adults. All drowned. All staring at the lodge. At him. Jasper's voice quivered. Tell me they are not real. Please. Tell me they are not real. Mal swallowed hard. They are real. Niall's voice cracked. Then God help us. Outside, the drowned one spoke, not in sound, but in the shifting vibration of the fog. Warden. Chosen knife. Come home. The bog pulsed again beneath their feet. Mal tightened his grip on the revolver. It begins, he whispered. The drowned ones moved forward. Slowly. Purposefully. And the fog deepened until the world outside vanished in white. The drowned ones didn't approach in a rush. They never rushed. They drifted. Silent. Patient. Deliberate. As though time meant nothing to them. Mal watched them through the narrow window crack, shapes flickering in the fog, half visible, wavering like smudges on a glass pane. The nearest stood 10 paces from the door. A woman, or what used to be one. Long black hair clung to her skull like algae. Her jaw sagged as though the bog had softened the bone. Her dress hung in tatters, the fabric waving in slow motion while no wind stirred. Her eyes, empty white orbs, looked straight at him. And then she smiled. A tearing, splitting motion, as though her mouth remembered the idea of smiling but not the anatomy. Mal stepped back. They've surrounded us, he said. Jasper nearly dropped the tinderbox. Surrounded? You mean, completely? Niall closed the shutters on instinct. They are in the marsh, at the tree line, by the rocks. We're encircled. Jasper shook, the tinder trembling in his hands. But they are not moving, right? They are just standing there. Waiting, Mal said. They are waiting. For what? Jasper whispered. For the mother, Mal replied. The words hung heavy in the air. Cormac stirred on the mattress. His eyelids fluttered, voice afraid whisper. She's close now, she feels you, all of you. Jasper dropped to a crouch beside him. Close? How close? We sealed the cavern, didn't we? Cormac's lips peeled back from cracked teeth. You cannot seal a thing that is made of the land. The bog feeds her. Every breath the ground takes, she grows. The fire snapped as Jasper finally lit it. Flames licked upward, small, hungry. Warmth seeped into the cold lodge like cautious hope. Niall knelt and pressed a flask of holy water into Mal's hand. If they crossed the threshold, this might slow them. Slow, Mal echoed. Not stop. Niall gave a faint nod. Not stop. A thud rattled the wall. Then another. Like something testing the structure's strength. Mal stepped to the door, revolver drawn. Get back, he said quietly. Jasper recoiled, stumbling over a pile of kindling. Are they attacking? Testing, Mal whispered. Pressing. The thuds grew more frequent. Some soft. Some strong. Some wet, like a body slapping against timber. The lodge creaked. Dust rained from the beams. The bog's breathing grew louder, syncing with the pounding, slow, rhythmic, synchronized. Mal tightened his jaw. This isn't random. They are working together. They are dead, Jasper protested. How can they work together? Niall's voice cracked with a solemn dread. They have one mind now. Second hand. Borrowed hand. Morag's hand. Another muffled thud shook the shutters. Cormac sat bolt upright with a choking gasp. She rides them. She wears them like skins. They are her puppets, her eyes, her teeth. Mal caught him before he fell back. The hunter's body trembled violently, bones rattling beneath stretched skin. What does she want? Mal asked. Cormac's eyes rolled white. You betrayed her. You cut her children free. You disturbed her sleep. Niall stepped forward. Mal disturbed her? She was killing Jasper. Cormac's nails dug into Mal's coat, desperate. She wanted the Drummond blood. The old crime. The old debt. The family that stole her life. Jasper sank back, shaking. Me. Cormac didn't blink. Yes. You were hers. The price. The bargain. The blood casting. Mal felt ice lance through his chest. She meant to kill him slowly. Slow. Cormac wheezed. No. Not kill. Transform. Jasper choked. Transform. Into what? Cormac's voice fell to a guttural whisper. A vessel. Something slammed against the door hard enough to bow the wood inward. Jasper screamed. Niall reached for his rosary. Mal pulled them both back from the entrance. Corner. Now. They retreated to the lodge's central hearth, the only point of warmth. The fire roared fuller as Jasper fed it everything he could, old chairs, broken beams, anything combustible. Mal stood guard, revolver ready. Outside, the drowned ones began to chant, not in words, but in the shifting tone of the fog. A low droning. A reverberating hum. A lullaby sung by the dead. Niall muttered furiously. She's controlling them. She's directing them. Mal's heart pounded, the rhythm matching the bog's pulse. The drowned ones pressed closer. Wood strained. Glass cracked. Hands, white, swollen, waterlogged, pressed against the shutters. Mal, Jasper whispered. What do we do? Mal scanned the lodge. Door. Windows. Walls. Roof. All vulnerable. But one entrance mattered most. He pointed to the floor. The trapdoor in the center. A pit beneath the lodge. A root cellar. A drainage canal. A threshold to the bog itself. She'll come through there, Mal said. Jasper blanched. No, she can't. How? Niall swallowed. Because the land is hers. Mal crouched and lifted the trapdoor. The air beneath was warm and moist, as though something had recently exhaled upward. Seal it, Mal ordered. Niall dragged heavy stones from the lodge walls. Jasper helped, stacking them over the trapdoor until the wood groaned under the weight. Mal shoved a heavy timber beam across the top. Then he poured a line of holy water around the stones, watching it sizzle against the earth like oil on flame. Cormac suddenly screamed. A primal, shrill sound. Mal whipped around. The man's body arched violently. Back bending like a bow. Skin stretching taut over bone. His eyes rolled back. "Help!" Jasper cried. Mal knelt beside Cormac, gripping his shoulders. "Cormac! Stay with me." Cormac's voice came through him, through his clenched teeth. But the words weren't his. "Warden." The voice was wrong. Lead. Echoing. Female. Niall froze. "That's her. She's speaking through him." Cormac's mouth opened wider. Too wide. The jaw cracked. Blood trickled down his chin. The voice continued. "I see you. I smell you. I taste your fear." Jasper backed toward the wall. "Oh God, oh God." Cormac's eyes snapped forward, locking onto Mal. "You belong to me." Mal gripped the man harder. "You're not taking him. You're not taking any of us." Cormac convulsed. And then everything went still. Cormac collapsed, breath gone. Jasper screamed. Niall closed Cormac's eyes. "He's dead." "No," Mal whispered. A second tremor shook the lodge. Then a third. Then the trapdoor stones cracked apart as though shoved by an invisible force. One stone rolled free. Then another. Jasper yelped. "She's coming through." The wood beneath the stone swelled upward, stretching, bulging. Something was pushing from below. Mal raised the revolver. The drowned ones outside shrieked, in unison. Wind screamed through the seams of the lodge. Fog burst inward from cracks in the walls. And beneath the trapdoor, a voice whispered. Small. Childlike. Clear. "Warden." Mal froze. Not Morag. Not the mother. The child. Morag Beeg. "Malcolm," the voice cooed. "You helped me. Let me help you." Mal's breath caught. The others stared at him. "Please," the child whispered. "Let me in." The trapdoor shuddered. Not with violence, but with something soft. Something pleading. Jasper whispered hoarsely. "Mal, don't." Niall stepped closer. "This is a trick." "Mal, no." But Mal couldn't look away. There was a pull. A warmth. A gravity. The child's voice brushed his ear. "Open it. You're not alone. I can save you." Mal's fingers twitched toward the stones. Niall grabbed his arm, eyes fierce. "Malcolm." That is the mother's voice wearing the child like a mask. Mal's heartbeat thundered. No. No, that wasn't right. The child had touched him. Spared him. Chosen him. Hadn't it? The wood below trembled with a soft rhythmic tapping. Like small hands knocking. Like a child asking to be let inside the warmth. Mal's head swam. The fire's heat blurred. The drowned one's chants blended into the wind. "Let me in," the child's voice pleaded. "I need you." Niall shook him hard. "She's trying to claim your mind." Mal stared at the trapdoor. His hand moved on its own. Jasper screamed, "Mal, stop." Mal's fingertips brushed the nearest stone. The voice beneath him smiled. He felt it. And whispered. "Good." The bog outside howled. Not wind. Not wolves. Not the drowned ones. Something deeper. A sound from the marrow of the earth, so old it had no language. A vibration born in the bones of mountains. The entire lodge trembled as though the world itself recoiled, or rejoiced. Mal's vision blurred. The stone beneath his hand turned warm. Then hot. Then scorching. He jerked away with a hiss of pain. Niall seized the moment and shoved him backward, slamming him against the far wall. Malcolm, you fool, look at me. Look at me. Mal blinked rapidly, pulling air into his lungs. She was calling. No, Niall snapped. She was possessing you. Jasper, pale as ash, backed away from the trapdoor. The stone, it's glowing. Mal whipped his gaze back. The stone sealing the trapdoor pulsed with an inner light. Dull orange. Then bright. Then blinding. Lines crawled along the wood beneath, runic shapes burning through the timber like embers in paper. Not holy. Not protective. Alive. Mal stepped forward instinctively. That's not Morag's writing. Niall's voice shook. Then who is it? Mal knew before he spoke. The child. The runes flared brighter in response, as though pleased. The drowned ones outside began to whisper in unison. A terrible soft harmony. Open, open, open. Niall hurled a bucket of holy water onto the stones. It steamed violently. Then boiled. A geyser of steam erupted upward. Jasper screamed, ducking as hot vapor filled the room. The lodge shuddered. Mal ran to the window and tore it open a crack just to breathe. Fog poured inside immediately, thick and icy, swirling across the floor like living vines. He slammed it back shut. The drowned ones pressed closer, faces squashed against the glass, waterlogged lips stretched in grotesque smiles. Niall coughed, eyes watering from the steam. This is worsening. Holy water used to repel her. Now it doesn't even sting. Because the child is stronger, Mal said. Jasper stared at him in horror. Stronger? Mal nodded grimly. The mother is old magic. But old things tire. New things learn. Outside, something thumped against the door, small, rhythmic. Like knuckles. Like a tiny fist. Tap. 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 Then the child's voice again. Malcolm. It echoed through the floorboards, into the walls, the stones, the beams. Not through Cormag this time. Directly. Let me help you. Mal clenched his jaw. Enough. Enough with the games. Show yourself. The knocking stopped. The drowned ones froze outside, expressionless. The bog went silent. The wind held its breath. And then, slowly, deliberately, a single stone on the trapdoor floated upward into the air. Jasper shrieked. No, no, no. Niall grabbed his cross and held it out. Stay back. In the name of Christ, stay back. The floating stone rose chest high. Then it turned over in slow rotation. Mud poured off it like black honey. On its underside glowed a single rune, bright crimson, pulsing like a heartbeat. Mal's breath hitched. That rune. Niall stammered. What does it mean? It's not Gaelic, Mal whispered. It's older. Older than the clans. Older than the saints. It's a binding mark. Jasper backed into a corner. Binding? Binding what? Mal swallowed. Me. The stone shot forward, straight at Mal's face. He ducked. It slammed into the wall above him, splintering wood. Malcolm, the child crooned again. You belong with me. A second stone rose. Then a third. Then all of them. They hovered in the air like a constellation of stars glowing with molten light. Jasper sobbed. She's tearing the lodge apart. Niall shouted, Malcolm, do something. Mal raised his revolver. He whispered the verse carved along the barrel. Gaelic words older than any scripture in a book. Kai thu mes, a kai am I thu. You see me, but I see you. He aimed. And the child laughed. A terrible, bubbling, delighted sound. You can't shoot what you can't see. The stones hurled themselves at him. Mal dove behind the hearth. Wood shattered. Splinters flew. Niall dragged Jasper down beside him. Stones smashed through beams, tore through walls, cracked windows. The lodge screamed as timbers buckled. Jasper covered his head. We're going to die. Mal rose halfway, firing a shot. The bullet struck a floating stone, it shattered in a flash of light. Good. He fired again, another shattered. But 3 more rose to replace them. Jasper pushed Mal aside. There's too many. Then the trapdoor exploded upward. Not with flame. Not with force. With growth. Black vines erupted from below, long, slick tendrils of mud and peat, wriggling like serpents. They lashed at beams, wrapping them, choking them. They curled around the hearth, trying to pull the fire into the floor. Niall gasped. She wants to extinguish the light. Mal lunged for the fire, throwing on more fuel. Keep it burning. Jasper tossed logs, broken chairs, anything he could grab. But the vines thickened, pressing the flames inward. Mal grabbed a burning log and jammed it into the vines. They recoiled with a hiss. The child's voice turned shrill. Angry. Hurting. Stop. You hurt me. Mal's eyes widened. She feels the fire. Niall's eyes blazed. Then use it. Mal swung the burning log like a torch, smashing vines aside. Flames leapt, devoured tendrils. The drowned ones outside shrieked. The vines retreated beneath the floor. The stones crashed to the ground. Silence fell. Slow. Heavy. Suspicious. Mal didn't lower the torch. The flames flickered. Smoke curled around him. Niall breathed hard. Is it over? Jasper wiped tears from his face. Please say yes. Please say. The floor beneath them pulsed. Once. Twice. Hard. Mal steadied his stance. No. And then. From the busted trapdoor, from the blackness below. A hand emerged. Small. Pale. Childlike. Dripping with mud. The fingers were delicate as porcelain. The nails blackened. The wrist impossibly thin. Jasper screamed. Niall fell to his knees. Christ have mercy. Mal lifted the torch higher. The child, Morag Beeg, pulled herself up. Her face was wrong. Too smooth. Too pale. Eyes gleaming like burning embers in a skull of milk. Her hair clung to her face in long ropes of wet fog. But she smiled. And it was heartbreakingly innocent. Malcolm, she whispered. I came for you. Mal's pulse thundered. His hand tightened on the torch. The child reached out her tiny arms. Not threatening. Not monstrous. Like a child reaching for a hug. The drowned ones outside leaned closer to the windows, pressing their faces to the glass. Mal swallowed. What do you want? The child blinked slowly. Her voice came soft. Everything. The lodge shook. The vines surged again. The drowned one screeched. The child reached forward. And Malcolm McCraith stepped into the firelight. To face her. The torch flickered dangerously low. Mel stepped toward the child, each footfall sinking slightly into the trembling floorboards. The air was thick with smoke and cold mist, as though fire and fog were fighting for the same breath. The child tilted her head. Her eyes glowed brighter, like two coals smoldering beneath ice. Malcolm, she whispered, you afraid? He tightened his jaw. Yes. She smiled sweetly. Good. Fear makes you real. The lodge groaned. The beams bent. Outside, the drowned ones began to chant in a slow, rhythmic moan. Niall stood shakily, clutching his cross. Mal, don't let her touch you. Whatever you do. But Mal had already stepped closer. She took Cormag, he said quietly. She took the others. If I run, she takes more. The child's lips parted in delight. You understand. Jasper sobbed again. Mal, please, don't go near her, this is madness. Mal glanced back. It's duty. The child spread her arms wider. The vines surged, coiling around her like living armor, rising from the floor, wrapping her legs, her spine, her shoulders. They puckered and pulsed like veins feeding her. She floated slightly off the ground. "Come," she breathed. "Let go of the light." Mal took one final step. Then he threw the torch. It struck her chest. Fire erupted. A violent blossom of orange light devouring vines, floor, timbers. The child screamed, not in fear, but in fury so pure it split the air like thunder. Mal grabbed Niall and Jasper, dragging them back. "Out!" he shouted. "Out now!" The lodge burst into flame in seconds. Fire raced along the walls as the vines writhed like serpents trying to smother it. Sparks flew as the beams cracked, raining embers. The drowned ones shrieked outside, recoiling from the growing blaze. Some dissolved into mist, others curled away like ash. Mal crashed through the door, hauling the others into the black bog night. Smoke poured from every crack of the lodge as the roof collapsed inward. The child's scream turned into a howl, a mixture of pitch-black hatred and the heartbreak of something ancient losing its grip. "Malcolm!" Her voice rose from the fire. "You promised me everything." Mal staggered through the mire, gasping for air. The heat bit his skin, the fog steamed. He turned one last time. The lodge was a pillar of fire. A funeral pyre for a creature that was not meant to burn. And in the flames, for just a moment, he saw her silhouette. Small. Fragile. Furious. She reached toward him. Her face distorted. Her jaw cracked. Her eyes burned holes through the night. Then the entire structure collapsed, swallowing her in an avalanche of flame. Niall grabbed Mal's arm. "She's done. It's over." Mal didn't answer. Because the bog fell silent. Too silent. No wind. No whispers. No movement. They knew what true quiet felt like. This wasn't it. This was listening. Waiting. A soft ripple of fog stirred at their feet, even as the fire roared behind them. Mal closed his eyes briefly. "She's not dead," he said. Jasper